Well, good morning, Cam.
Good morning, Mitch. How are you?
I'm doing well. I had a little, I don't know, it's like such a mini freak out. It wasn't even like I was all that, like I was going real crazy about it, but I walked into my studio this morning and now just to set the scene, I've got two lights that kind of sit. One sits kind of behind my iMac. The other one is a nice little lamp off to my left here. That's what you get the light on one side of my face. Well, I knew I needed a light for the other side of my face over here, and I've just got a fixture up in the ceiling here that I have a
hmm
light in. Now they all have the Philips Whiz lights in them, so they're all smart lights with RGB lights, so I can change them to any color, that sort of thing. Well, I got into the studio this morning, and the one that's in the ceiling fixture wouldn't come on. Everything else would come on, but that one wouldn't come on. And I'm undoing it from the socket, screwing it back into the socket, doing everything I can to figure out why it's not working. I go into the Wiz app, and there's nothing in there. It just says that it's not connected to the internet, so it can't see it. So obviously it's got no power. And now I'm thinking, gosh, I wonder if that light fixture went out. I was like, oh, because those do go out from time to time. It's just one of those little like porcelain fixtures. That's real basic. This is a basement, so it's just a very basic ceiling fixture here. And I can't figure out what's going on with it. You want to take a guess?
One of your cats did something.
Nope.
It wasn't screwed in all the way.
Nope. Somebody, possibly me, but
The light
somebody
switch wasn't flipped.
flipped off the light switch. I spent 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out what's going on with my light bulb. Why won't it come on? And I'm thinking, oh shoot, maybe I need to get a new light bulb, and I need to this and that, and I've been had my in the back of my head. I've been thinking about getting a set of nanoleaf light bulbs
hmm
because I don't think you need a hub for those.
You do not,
No,
and
and
they're also mesh. So if you have like
yeah,
a HomePod or HomePod Mini, which I do,
mm-hmm,
the mini one, yeah, I've had my Nanoleaf ones for probably 2 years.
mm-hmm.
They're awesome and they're very affordable
They
compared
are.
to like Philips Hue or whatever.
Well, these
I mean, I'm
these
talking
light
about just
bulbs.
like the normal bulb ones. They have like all those crazy wall shapes that you can get to,
Mm-hmm,
but I'm just talking like the normal
right.
classic bulb shaped ones. They're A19 or I think they're like $20 a pop or maybe even cheaper.
Yeah,
And compared to the Philips Hue, like
you can
it's
you can get a 3-pack of them for $50 on Apple.com.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
And so I have three of them in here. So I thought, well, the 3-pack works really well for me. The Whiz lights that I have in here, I paid like $12 a piece for. And so if you do the math, that's $36, $50 for something that's you don't need a hub for. That actually I would probably connect them into the Portal app for the Mac, Portal for
Yep.
Mac, so
Mhm.
that they would change colors with that. It would give me a
Well,
lot more options down here.
yeah, and what's the like the app like for the Whiz lights? Is it
Um, I mean,
decent?
it's pretty basic. It works. It works just fine, but it's pretty basic.
Yeah, well, one of the things, and I don't. This may be in Wiz too, is that in Nanoleaf app, you can go search for user created scenes
Okay. Yeah.
that will
Can't do that.
automate the changes of your lights and stuff. And so there's a whole essentially tab of the app that's dedicated to either scenes that the Nanoleaf people have made or that other people that own Nanoleafs have made and have uploaded that you can add to your lights. And so you can set that to like, oh, this is like the fireside lights, and it like they kind of like ebb and flow in brightness and color, or like you can get like stupid like police siren lights. It's just red and blue flashing,
Mm-hmm.
anything from really dumb stuff to like, oh, this is actually quite pleasant. Like I have
Yeah.
one called I need to look it up real quick. Sorry, because I want to get the title right because it's actually
While you're looking it up, I'll tell
really
you
nice.
the Wiz app has some presets like that in there. So you have like candlelight and fireplace and stuff like that. But I've never been impressed. It doesn't seem like they put a whole lot of thought into doing them, which it sounds like the Nanoleaf community probably has put a lot more thought into creating those so that they're good, not just there. But
Yeah, and of course, now that I'm trying to find it,
And I'll
I'm
just,
having trouble finding it.
while I'm thinking about it and you're looking that up, I just want to make a note about the last episode that we did. I was trying some stuff with the Descript app for eliminating different things, and there were some kind of glitchy edits in there. I'm looking to smooth those out, so I'm aware of those for the listeners. But if they really distracted you, I promise you we're working out some of those kinks. But I wanted to. I actually went back and listened to the episode, and I think there might have been like 3 really like kind of messy edits in there because I used the Descript app this last time. So we'll pay attention to that and make sure that that's not an issue in the future. So there it is.
So it's called Beach Waves.
Beach Waves.
And so it's you've got like a lighter tan and a darker tan for like the beach colors, and then you've got like a nice like sky blue, a teal, and like a dark turquoise that it just fades in between. So you get kind of like this, and it's all very like pastel colors. So it's not bright or vibrant, but it's just this very pleasant. Like I had it on during like the afternoons, and you just get these nice subtle changes to the blues and the tans, and it's just like, oh, this is a very pleasing, light setup. So there's a bunch of other ones in there too, but that one I just like the light. It's not hot pink or hot purple, which my daughter loves, and so like sometimes like she had some crazy ones she called like beautiful unicorn or rainbow explosion, because she was 5 when she named that. But it's just, yeah, it's cool. And I like the fact that it's not just Nanoleaf, right? You can find Hue has these for like, I'm pretty sure any smart light bulb company at least has presets. I don't know about the custom uploads, but it's such a nice addition to, even as you said, matching it with Portal, right? Is just creating an atmosphere or an ambiance, if you will, based on whatever mood you want to go for. And it's just kind of fun that, we went from on or off to like faders, right? To now having full RGB capabilities to do all of that stuff and more, to sync it with the movie that you're watching on your TV. If you want to do that, like, I don't know, just technology is fun sometimes.
Yeah, especially when it works well.
Get well
when people don't flip off switches on you. So anyway, so that was my my panic this morning as I'm getting ready to get the show ready and get the Zoom meeting open, and good times.
Well, the moral of the story, folks, the reason why every tech support person will ask you this first: is it plugged in?
Yep, exactly. They've gotten smart. I don't know if you've been on a tech support call in the last probably 10 years or so, but they've gotten really smart about this. They don't ask you if it's plugged in anymore. They ask you to unplug it and then plug it back in. And the whole idea is we're not going to make this person feel stupid.
Yeah.
Yep. So if you are on the phone with tech support and they tell you, well, why don't you go down to the outlet and unplug it and then plug it back in? They're basically asking you to make sure that it's plugged in. So
yeah, and I had one of those moments yesterday. I had my Apple Watch connected to the little charging puck, like all afternoon, and then I left to go hang out with a friend, and I put my Apple Watch on, and it was like 9%. Turn low, and I was like, "What the heck?" Like, I'll deal with it later. And I come back home, and I was like, maybe when I set it down on the table, it got dislodged a little bit, and it wasn't a clean connection. Like, all right, my bad, whatever. So I come back home last night. I throw it back on the charger because it's officially dead at this point.
Right.
And nothing happens. And I'm like making sure. And then I turn my flash on and I look down, and somehow the charging block that charges my phone and my watch was unplugged from the power strip. It's just like, now it took me 30 seconds because there's only one other option on that. If it's fully, on the puck, then it has to be the other end.
Yeah.
Well, how in the world did that happen?
Yeah.
Just, one of those. We're all privy to it not being plugged in and not checking it thing.
Right. All right. Well, we've got an upcoming Apple event to talk about. There are no invitations have gone out yet, so we don't know a hard date. But the rumor right now is it the 12th? They're thinking. Let me double check my calendar and make sure that makes sense.
That'd be a Tuesday.
I think that's a belief that they're going to do it on that Tuesday. They don't usually do those on Mondays because they need that day to kind of prepare. But yeah, I think They're predicting September 12th for the announcement and the 22nd for release day. So, yeah. So that is the rumor. But we want to talk about rumors today, so we should get into it. All right. Well, there's a lot of rumors, and we're going to be pulling a lot of what we're talking about today from Mac Rumors because they do a really good job of kind of collecting all the rumors in one place. So let me ask you, like, is there anything that jumps out at you?
Well, there's this one that says iPhone 14 Pro versus 15 Pro, 20 plus upgrades and changes to expect.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like a lot.
Well, I mean, what does that mean though? Is like how like are they really little things or?
Well, let's take a peek. 20 things. Surgical grade stainless steel chassis with 90-degree edges on the 14 Pro and Pro Max. The 15 Pro is supposed to be lightweight titanium with slightly curved edges. Smaller bezels, 2.17 millimeters on the 14 to 1.55. So, I mean, we're getting dangerously close to absolutely, full screen.
I know, what you're talking about is like form factor, and I know that the biggest rumors around form factor has been going from a stainless steel frame to a titanium frame, and then rounding the glass on the back to give it a little bit cleaner, like more curvature. I know that they kind of go back and forth with this.
About to say we're going back to like the iPhone 8, I think, style with the rounded edges, because it started out like bricks, right? And then we got the rounded ones, and now we went back to this, the more rectangular. And so it feels like we're just kicking that, the TikTok or the back to the other side. The other big one that is important to me is the USB-C port.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big story.
Finally.
And I at first thought, well, USB-C, whatever, that's fine. But then, as I've been buying newer devices over the last couple of years, everything uses USB-C.
Yep.
And so I'm looking at it going, I don't even need to buy new cables because I have them all already. It's just
your MacBooks, your iPads, your iPad Airs, Nintendo Switch, like Android phones, Android tablets. My kid's Chromebook for school is USB-C.
A couple of years ago, I bought the 12 cell AirFly Pro that is a little like transmitter and receiver for Bluetooth, and that uses USB-C, and I charge that regularly. I have a pair of AfterShokz bone conduction headphones that charge using USB-C. I mean, there's not a lot that I have right now that isn't, 4 or 5 years or more old that doesn't use USB-C now. So it's almost like it's pretty much wherever it is, there's going to be a charger there that's going to work for it.
Yeah, it's lovely. And like my docks, USB-C docks, right, are all USB-C, and that gets me HDMI and Ethernet and power and USB-A stuff. My external hard drives are all USB-C. Like this is it is truly universal, right? And like we ran into this problem a couple of weeks ago at church where our drummer runs the click off their phone. Well, all of our drummers, save for the newest one, have iPhones, and so everyone just has a little lightning to 3.5 millimeter dongle so they can plug into the aux cable. Well, this dude's got an Android phone, which is USB-C. And so luckily, the worship director had a USB-C to 3.5 dongle in his bag. Otherwise, we'd have been running without a click, which is at the end of the world. No, it's not. Is it better to have a click? Yeah, it is. It was just one of those, like, and I had the conversation with the drummer, and I was like, yeah, this is really silly. Like, everything else is USB-C now. The iPhone, which Apple is not really necessarily ever on the bleeding edge of this sort of stuff. They tend to wait a while.
Yeah.
But it's just one of those where I was like, enough is enough. Like, we've got all always on displays, crazy cameras. Can we please just drop lightning?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a nice upgrade. It sounds like, and like I was alluding to, it sounds like not a big deal, or that even people would be upset about it. And maybe, if my mom buys a new phone, I'm going to have to work with her to get a charger that she's going to need or whatever. But when it comes right down to it, I think a lot of people aren't going to have a problem with this transition. So
Yeah, and I think it's one of those where, like, if they had done this maybe 3 years ago, there would have been a huge outcry. But because literally the iPhone is the last major device that doesn't have it now, at least it feels. You could probably find something that still runs on, like my Ableton Push, which is a pretty brand spanking new musical device, runs on the printer style USB. The one that looks like a house and is like this big.
Yeah.
Like,
actually, I think that's what my soundboard
runs.
Oh no, my soundboard's USB-C.
Yeah. So like there, you can still find things that run, and like my MIDI keyboard, it runs on the same style of, and I don't even honestly remember what type of USB that is.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's like USB A / something, whatever. But like it's that typical printer connector.
I think it's actually USB B.
Sure, we'll go with that.
I think that's what it's actually called. It's the B style USB.
Yeah, but my point remains.
Mm-hmm. But that's
why
done
it 3 years ago.
My stumbling about calling it USB B is exactly why they don't call it that.
Yeah. But like at this point, some people will still grumble, but I think so much more of us will just be relieved that we can just bring one block and one cable and charge everything. You know what I mean? It'd be so nice, except for our watches, obviously. But hey, I digress.
So there's rumors that they're going to be more expensive as well. They're talking $100 to $200 more.
No, Apple's never shy for about not passing the savings on to us.
Well, I'm conflicted about this because number one, no, we don't want to pay any more, but at the same time, part of this could be paying for pushing the technology forward, being able to get some of the things that we want. It'll be interesting what the story is, or if they even acknowledge the price jump.
I probably won't, but my guess is too, it has to do with inflation and the increasing costs of the global supply chain, right?
Yeah.
Because of that inflation, right? So that's my guess. Could Apple eat that cost? Yeah. I mean, they're sitting on in apps, and maybe they are eating some of it, and they're only passing on half of it to us. We'll never know, because they're never going to tell us, right? Unless they're like, this iPhone should really cost $2,000, but because we care so much, we're only gonna pass $100 of that $1,000 increase onto you. We're gonna eat the rest because we want you to we want it more. Like they're only gonna say that if it makes them look like the good guys.
Yeah,
but companies that make this amount of money tend to not do things out of the goodness of their heart, right? Like,
well, they're in business to make money, so
exactly, and they have an awful lot of it.
Mm-hmm. Well, so when they get to buying Disney, they can buy Disney.
Oh my gosh, will that even be allowed?
Well, that's been a lot of conversation lately is about that, but I don't think it would be a problem, but we would see if it ever happened. So,
well, and if you think about that, so Disney owns ESPN, and then Apple has been getting into sports with the Friday Night Baseball and the whole MLS season pass. They tried to get the entire Pac-12 sports or football, and that fell through because the Pac-12 was not going to be a conference after this next football season.
Pretty much imploded.
Yeah, which just what a comedy of errors. I'm not mad about it because the Big Ten got USC, UCLA, Washington, and Oregon. So like I'm cool with that.
Mm-hmm.
Not from like a traditional like purist standpoint. Like I think this is all really stupid.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also glad that the conference that I grew up watching and that my favorite team is still standing.
Mm-hmm.
As one of the top two conferences. You know what I mean? Like, have things fundamentally changed? Yeah, we don't have to get into this because I know it's a tech podcast, not a sports podcast, but like,
We're a whatever
If
podcast.
if yeah, but like if things are changing drastically,
Mhm.
my stance is I would rather still be a player at the table than be one of the schools that didn't get brought in, like Washington State or Oregon State or
Mhm.
Cal or Stanford, that are currently still kind of in limbo.
Yeah.
Like, that's not great, because if you're a fan of that school or an alumni of those schools, you don't want to see your traditions fade into history. You want to keep that stuff alive, right?
Mhm.
So,
If the audience is interested in hearing a lot more about that, they covered it in depth on the last two episodes actually of Upgrade. Um
really, oh, because
yeah.
Jason Snell's a big sports guy.
Hmm. Yeah,
Okay,
so they talked at length about the idea of the Disney acquisition, what it would mean, those sorts of things. Now, understand that this is not rumored at this point. It's just there's been a couple of articles and some conversation about the possibility of it, and
uh-huh.
it's kind of crazy how much sense it makes after you hear some of the arguments that they're talking. So, and sports rights is a big part of that. So,
Well, and then even merging Apple TV Plus with Disney Plus, right?
hmm,
And but that means,
yeah.
oh my God, that would mean Apple would own it.
So,
Marvel.
so Apple,
Ah, I don't want
so
them to own everything, Mitch. I don't want them
so
to own
wait.
everything.
Slow down, take a breath. What I think they get out of that deal that is really powerful, and I don't want to go into a lot of depth on this, but one thing that would be interesting is the fact that Disney would then have lots in LA to film things instead of, because I don't think they really have that right now.
You mean Apple?
Oh, I'm sorry, Apple would basically have all of like Disney's,
Mm-hmm.
the lots and stuff that they use for filming their shows and everything. So they would have a machine that already makes lots of great shows to bring in. So I think that
Well,
it would be one of those things. My impression, and I think I'll just finish up with this. My impression of this is that it should look more like a merger than a buyout.
yeah.
Um,
Well,
be,
but then even how about the full circle story of Pixar coming back because Steve Jobs started Pixar?
yep.
Oh
And
my
that's
gosh.
that's why this all makes so much sense because the two companies have very similar cultures. And so
Mhm.
they bring that together. It's very compatible. So, but anyway, um,
Back to the iPhone.
back to the iPhone. There is some debate as to whether or not they're going to bring the periscope camera to the new iPhones this year or next year.
Yeah, so I've heard a little bit about this, and as you know, camera nerd, right? But
Yeah.
can you tell me more about what this actually is? I know it's a new type of lens system that's fundamentally different.
Yeah, so I think it would affect the telephoto lens, because it would be basically taking the camera and where it's pointing out now, the sensor is pointing out the back. They would take it and they would take it at a 90-degree angle down into the phone to be able to lengthen the lenses in there. And again, you're the camera guy, but it would allow them to do a better optical zoom because there'd be more space for those lenses to
Oh,
move.
yeah, because they're running up against physics at this
Yeah.
point, right? Like you can only do so much, and there's a reason why, a mirrorless camera with a 2 or 3 inch sensor and
Hmm.
a lens that's 6 inches long is always going to look better, right? One, the larger sensor is
Hmm.
more data. And anytime you're doing anything with digital photo video, the more data you have, the better the image. You can get, a higher dynamic range, meaning brighter whites and darker blacks with less noise, all that good stuff. And then the space between the lenses is what allows you to get that depth of field and all that sort of stuff.
Hmm.
My question is that if they flip the sensor 90 degrees, well, they're not going to make the phone 2 inches thick. So like they're
Yeah.
playing with the sensor that so I get having more space for the lenses, which is good. And maybe I'm just not thinking it through.
Well,
Oh,
there's
periscopes go forward, up, and then forward again. So
they
they could
could.
keep the sensor. They keep the sensor. They
Yeah,
just
they
use the
could
double
keep.
mirror,
Yeah, they.
or however they're going to do it, right? So they keep the
Yeah.
sensor in line with the tall side of the phone, and
Hmm.
then go. to the back of the phone, up, and then out the back of the phone,
Mm-hmm.
being true periscope, right? And that allows for that's actually a really clever solution. I
Yeah.
like that. If
Mm-hmm.
they can pull it off, iPhone the what you're gonna be able to get out of it is going to be markedly better.
I also think there's a possibility that they could use some of their magic to use the like the wide camera to help to fill in any missing data or anything like that. So it wouldn't necessarily be that it had all the sensors would have to be 48 megapixels. So I think they could do some magic with a smaller sensor mixed with some of the larger sensors that are on the camera.
Yeah, it's just
But
I mean, any chance you have to use the biggest sensor possible,
mm-hmm.
you're gonna get a better image.
Yeah.
And that's not even necessarily about megapixels. It's just about, you know, like I said, dynamic range and how effective the pixels you have are on there. Like obviously, the more megapixels you have, the more you can zoom in on an image, right?
Mm-hmm.
With better clarity and better detail. But like 48's plenty. No one is printing their iPhone photos on a 10-foot canvas.
Mm-hmm.
At least I don't think anyone is. If we're sharing this stuff, even if we're putting it as a 4K display on our computer monitors, right? 48 mega, it's fine. It's still a big image.
Yeah.
But
So
anyways, cool. No, I hadn't thought about that. And if they probably won't eat like mirrors is so old school, right? That's how they used to do it.
mm-hmm.
But they can do that mirrorless now on handheld. So yeah, however they figure it out, like they're the technology geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just the one that likes nice cameras. So I will, if that does come to this one, I'll be very intrigued to see, especially in with the improvements we're seeing to portrait mode in photo and whatever the video version of that. I can never remember what it's called. Hold please. Cinematic mode on the video, combining the technology improvements that they keep adding there with the ability to make the depth of field look more realistic, and also the ability to edit it in post, right? To change the aperture. That combined with a camera system that's going to give you actual better, more realistic depth of field because the lenses are further apart and you can get that compression you need, especially on telephoto. Like it's going to make the stuff look a lot better. Is it still going to compete with, a $15,000 Airy? No, because it can't. But it's not supposed to. It's your camera in your pocket, right? And the fact that we're getting, even today, what we're getting compared to what we got 5 years ago, 8, like, it's insane what this thing can do. I mean, people are filming commercials in like on their phones or their iPad. It's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're still trying to push it forward and trying to get more, what's the right word, performance out of these is like pretty cool,
Yeah, I think it's cool. There's been a lot of talk about the colors of the phones. I have opinions.
Mitch wants his orange phone.
I do want my orange phone. Yeah. But this year, I guess some of the rumors are basically like various shades of gray for the Pro phone, which is normal, and then like a blue. I know months ago there was a rumor that they were going to do a dark red phone, almost like a burgundy-ish or but just like a really dark red phone, which I think would be pretty. But man, why can't we just let's get like really bright, fun colors in the 15 line and get your like maybe darker, moodier colors in the Pro line, but give us color. If somebody, the argument that they always have is that pros don't want like flashy colored phones, and when it comes right down to it, pros aren't buying the pros, or they are, but there's a lot more people buying the pro phones than just pros.
Yeah.
Give us some choice. I'm tired of buying, the space gray phone every time. or the midnight phone or
To which they'll just
whatever.
say, buy one of our overpriced cases.
Well, and I mean that's always a possibility, but I saw a rumor the other day said they weren't going to be offering the leather cases this year, which I think is ridiculous because that's the good case. I don't really want the silicon case. I want the leather case. Hopefully, what that means is that they're going to offer some other option if they don't offer like a leather case. But
Maybe they'll offer a bejeweled silicone case.
oh, I'm sure you'll be first in line for that one.
Yeah, you know me.
Oh, you and all your bejeweling. Well, I think we might have a show title. Let's see. So it looks like this year they're going to go with the rumor is a 15 plus, which they did last year. How do you feel about the plus?
I've never owned one,
Yeah.
a plus or a max.
I feel like it's trying. I have a feeling about what they should do here. I know last year they said the plus really didn't sell that well. Before that they tried the mini and the mini just really didn't sell that well. I really think what they should be doing is 15, which is your, everybody can grab a 15, and it comes in a variety of fun colors, and it's, your teenager runs around with the 15, or, mom buys the 15 because it's the least expensive one. Whatever, you just get the basic one, 2 cameras on it, it'll do the job, but nothing super fancy. The 15 Pro, which is going to come in at the same form factor with more features, or a slightly larger phone, but not so large that it's going to put itself outside of the market for the smaller phone. And then, so you have the 15, you have the 15 Pro. I think this is where they debut the 15 Ultra, is for the large phone. Now, the large phone is not only large, but it also has additional features. Maybe that's where they start the periscope camera, and maybe have some other features that way. Maybe they don't introduce that into the Pro phone this year.
Action button.
I think the action button is going to be the Pro and Pro Max or Pro Ultra or whatever. I shouldn't say Pro Ultra, Pro Max or Ultra phone. But there is a pretty good rumor that we could see one called the Ultra this year.
Yeah, and I don't know. We're running into naming convention issues because the chips are Max and Ultra too. Like,
and I think that's
computers are Max, but MACS. I don't know. It's not my favorite.
Yeah, so I would prefer they drop the Max name from the MAX, that is, from the product lines. But I think they went to the Ultra, the Apple Watch Ultra. I think it makes sense to add this as another Ultra phone. But there's also the rumor, or there's also the idea, I shouldn't say it's been rumored, but the idea that they would offer the Ultra very much like they offer the iPhone 10, where here's your normal phones that you were expecting, and here's a really cool one that is paving the way for the future of the iPhone. And that's where you could see the Ultra come in.
And the exorbitant price as well.
And that would be, ushering in a new price point for phones. But did you realize there are people paying $1,900, almost $2,000 for a phone now? There's Samsung phones that are running that much.
What a time to be alive, Mitch.
Right. I mean, those are the flip phones, and, but I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast. How do you feel about flip phones? Like, if they offered a iPhone.
I'll be honest, I have not seen a modern flip phone in real life yet. Okay. So I remember my Razor from back in the day, and there is a satisfaction to flipping it open,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. Hmm.
Um,
I think I have one in
like
my box behind me.
as a concept, great. I haven't used one and I haven't even seen one, so I don't have any practical opinions of it. I think like any technology in 5 to 10 years, they're going to be so much better because that's just the way this stuff rolls. Yeah, I'd like to get my hands on one just to try it.
So I have, this is where working in public, no offense, gives me a little bit of advantage because I work with a lot of people that have flip phones,
Mm.
have the modern style of flip phone. One of the gentlemen that I tend to take break with quite often, because his break times line up with mine, has one of the little Z flips. And I've seen this phone, and I'll tell you, there are things about the flip phones that I like. He a lot of times will sit it on the table in front of him and leave the top portion of it flipped up at an angle, and he'll sit and read articles and swipe very much like if you had a little touchpad in your laptop. He'll
Yeah.
swipe on the part that's on the table and read on the part that's angled up.
So
And
it's a mini laptop at
yeah,
that
it's
point.
almost like a little mini laptop. And he'll do that. And he does that a lot during break where he's just reading news and stuff like that. He likes his political news, which he then likes to talk about in the break room. But but he does that a lot. I think the phone has a very satisfying click or clunk. When it closes, the one thing I cannot get past, and I do not think that any of the Samsung phones have fixed this, is the seam in the middle. Or not the seam, but like the fold,
Yeah,
the
mhm.
bent part, because it never like doesn't look. Can never not see that line there, and that would drive me up a wall. If they could come out with something that you would never see that line. Now, I'll give them a little bit of credit that when you open it up flat and you've got it lit up, you don't really notice it. I notice it because I'm looking at it from the side and the light's not shining directly at me, so I can see the contour of the screen and I can see that there's a seam or a fold right in the middle.
Mhm.
And it's almost like a pleat in pants. Like it's always
Z
there.
Flip, the khakis of
The
phones.
khakis of phones. But it's just it would irritate me. And now there's other ones too that open up into like a small tablet, and I've seen a bunch of guys come through the store with those. Those are the ones that tend to run like $1,900. And again, like I feel like those are more. There's compromises on both sides. So first off, our iPhones have a nice width and a nice height to them. And I don't know what the brand, like the line, is called. It's Samsung makes them. I don't know if it's called the Galaxy Flip or what it is, but they're tall and skinny. So the screen on the outside is tall and skinny, and then you open it up into like a tablet, and it's really small for a tablet. Too big to be a phone, but too small to be a tablet. And to me, that just like there's compromises on both ends of it. If you
Yeah.
want it to be a phone form factor, it's really, really narrow. If you want it to be a tablet factor, it's just really small for a tablet. And either way, I just feel like there's a lot of compromises being made in
Well,
both
that's when you got to go for
situations.
the trifold. So you take your iPhone and have three of them, and it flips out to an
Yeah.
iPad Mini, and it's only an inch and a half thick.
I'll tell you what, if they came like I really do feel like the iPad Mini is the right form factor for me for a tablet, and then my iPhone Pro Max is the right form factor for me for a phone. And I think that I don't see, you know, I don't see that ever changing unless there comes out, I Apple comes out with a phone that changes that game. Like somehow there's some kind of like way that they make that work. And I think you're right. Like it is almost a trifold, to take like a regular Pro model and flip it out into like 3 phones with that is almost the size of a iPad mini. But I don't know. Otherwise it just seems like a whole lot of compromises to be able to have one device that does both things.
Yeah. I hear you.
I love it when the guys are like, "Man, don't you wish your phone could do this?" No, not really.
Because if I did, I wouldn't have this one.
Mm-hmm. I like what my phone does.
Indeed.
All right. I don't know that is there a ton more to talk about with this? I mean, the action button is new. That's something that is rumored that they'd be replacing the mute switch on the side with just a button, and you'd be able to assign it to whatever you want. I would assume that they would have it assigned as the mute button out of the box, that they wouldn't want to change that too drastically. But
part of me wonders if they stick that in the control center, because a button that big is a lot easier to accidentally actuate than that tiny little flip switch that you have to like dig your finger in there to move.
I do wonder if they'll use some tech to prevent that, because no matter what you put on that button, if it's going to get hit, it's going to change things. So I wonder if the phone would have to be open, maybe not unlocked, but like you raise it and you're looking at it and you hit the button.
Yeah. Or do they put a finger Touch ID sensor in there? So like you just have to tap it, and like hold it long. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess
because if that button
see.
is like call your spouse, you don't want to be, old school butt dialing all the time.
And all they hear is because it's in your pocket, scraping on your pocket, not because someone's breathing heavy into it. Good way to
clarify that one. Well done. All right, that's enough of that.
Let's edit that out. Anyway. I don't know that there's a whole lot more to talk about here.
That's all right.
I mean, barring, talking about some of the specific, like the specific specs and stuff like that, which I don't really care that much about anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I do find it funny that I'm scrolling down through Mac Stories and there's an ad for the Samsung Galaxy Flip. Like we were just talking about.
Dude, I'm telling you.
So I think one thing that would be interesting. No, it was on there before we talked about it. I just mentioned it now.
I was 100% kidding.
Yeah, but I think that there's an interesting perspective to take on this. You and I are both the 13 line of phones. So you have the 13 Pro, I have the 13 Pro Max.
Mm-hmm.
And we would be upgrading to a 15 this year if we decide to upgrade. I think my wife and I are all but said we're going to. But if you think about that, like what are we gaining going from the 13 to the 15 that we haven't already talked about?
Always on display.
Always on display. The dynamic island. Yep, which I think is a really big deal. Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to having the dynamic island.
Increased storage opportunities, more memory. The 15 Pro is supposed to have 8 gigs of memory, which I'm not editing 8K video on my phone. I don't know why I need that much.
Right.
But yeah, I mean the biggest things would be the always on display and the dynamic island, which I'm told makes the live actions much more useful than they currently are.
Yeah. I'll tell you with the only thing that I've really noticed,
and the USB-C, of course, but we already talked about that.
Yeah. The only thing that I've really, like the live actions have been useful to me for is I've really appreciated having the baseball game on there when I'm at work, because rather than having to open up the phone, go into the MLB app, and see what the baseball game is at, I just literally lift my phone up, and it's right on the bottom of the screen, and I put my phone back down, and it's just made that process that much simpler. So, and I've turned off. This is something a decision I made recently. Is I've turned off all my notifications for sports.
Yep.
So I I think if I were at work and I couldn't listen to the game, or if I was at some kind of function and couldn't listen to the game, I can go in and say, "Hey, just notify me about this game because I want to know what's going on during the game." But what was happening was my wife and I like to watch the baseball game together, and about once a week there's a day game, so it comes on when I'm at work, and my wife and I will make the um, have the agreement that we're not going to pay attention to the game because we're going to watch it together that night. And so turning off the notifications has helped. One thing that has not helped is I still have a complication on my watch that tells me the score. There's one day I went all day without knowing what happened at the baseball game. I get home and I look down on my watch and I'm like, oh crap, dang it. So, but
Yeah. So like, I, I get why you would want to do it with baseball because there's 162 regular season games.
right.
But like, I don't watch baseball, and if I like, for example, like I really like college football and I really like soccer. I don't want to know the scores of the games because I'm going to watch it. If I'm not able to do so live, I'm gonna watch it on my DVR, and I don't want to know the score whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
There is one thing that I will say is that Apple's design for the MLS season pass is awful. Even if I have scores turned off, I have to scroll through the highlight videos to get to the replay of the game that I want to watch. Oh, Messi scores in the 46th minute, or Denny Bouanga ties the game in the 89th. Like, don't tell me this crap. Why do I have to scroll through the highlights of the games I want to watch in order to get to the games I want to watch? Yeah, I can hide the scores, but you're already telling me who scores and when.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's like, put the games above the highlights. It blows my mind. So, anyways, I got angry, but
That's right.
It's a stupid design.
Yep. Don't forget our listeners like it when you get riled up.
I mean, it's just like, who thought this through? And like, I can understand why they're like, oh, we need to surface the highlights because that's the short little content that people want to watch. Well, maybe here's a crazy idea. Make that an option at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Full replays, highlights, other shows. I want full replays. Or you're allowed to pick your favorite teams. Put my favorite teams' games at the top above the high. Like, this doesn't make sense to me. But, let's move on before I say more mean things.
All right. Your face didn't turn totally red this time.
No, because I know they're not going to change it based on what I say here. So it's like, I vented. We can move on.
We can move on now. All right. Excellent. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about with the iPhones at this point? Because I think we're gonna do a. Oh, let's see. I should look at the schedule. We're gonna do a episode where we're gonna do our predictees between now and then. So that'll probably be on the 9th, it's looking like. That'll be the next time we record. So we'll do the predictees for this event next time we get together. And then we'll score them on the following episode. So
you are the reigning benevolent predictator, aren't you?
I think aren't I the double benevolent predictator?
I don't recall. I
You
think
know?
that
Okay.
is lost to the whims of history, is what I think. I don't think there's any way anyone could go back and verify
Listeners, I think that's a yes.
that.
All right. Well, we have another topic that I think, let me look at where we're at with time. Let's do that in the post show. You agree?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So let's do what's delighting us first. All right. You ready?
No, but let's do it anyways.
Do you have anything that's delighting you today, Cam?
I should. Can't really think of it at the moment, which is sad. You would think at this
Anything
point I would come prepared.
anything new that you've purchased lately?
Yes. Well, not that I purchased.
Okay.
That my parents purchased for me.
Okay.
So I have been neck deep in barbecue YouTube for like the last 7 months, just obsessing. Oh, Mitch just took his glasses off and rubbed his face. He's not ready for the dad talk. Let's get our polo shirts and grill.
All right. Let's do this.
And at my previous house where I lived, it was owned by the church, and the church had a very nice Traeger grill that had free access to. All I had to do was provide my own food and provide my own pellets, and I could use the grill, which was a great deal because it's like a $700 grill.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. I smoked a pork butt on it for my small group. It took like 8 hours, and it was glorious.
Mm-hmm.
But I moved up to a different location a couple months ago, and I am since been without said amazing grill. But I've been watching one specific channel a lot called Chud's Barbecue, and he has an entire series on the Weber kettle where he does all sorts of different barbecue, all sorts of different types of meat and seafood and stuff on the Weber kettle. And so, long story short, there's this company called Slow and Sear that makes a customized version, or their custom version of the Weber kettle that has a few upgrades. The thermometer is actually in the correct spot. It has a little coal basket that sits on the side with a water baffle in it, so you can have your hot side and your cold side. And so I was going to buy it, but my birthday is next month. Christmas is coming. So, and my parents, for whatever reason, still like to buy me things for my birthday and Christmas, even though I'm 36. And so I just had mentioned to my mom and dad over, our chats that I'm going to get my own grill, yada, yada, yada. So I finally found this one. And so I was like, hey, I know you like to, either get me something for birthday or throw cash towards something. Here's what I'm looking at. If you want to throw in 50 or whatever, that'd be great. And then so I'm talking to them on the phone, trying to explain it to my dad. And he goes, hold on one second. And he does a terrible job of covering the phone up.
Mm-hmm.
Should we just buy this for him? I was like, you got to be freaking kidding. It's a $400 deluxe grill that comes with all the things. I was at best hoping that they would throw me $100 to knock it down to $3 and I could swing that. But so he's like, yeah, we're just going to buy it for you. And I was like, that's too much. No, you, and he goes, look, it's your birthday. We didn't get you anything for Christmas last year, and you just moved to a new house. So suck it up. We're doing something nice for you. All right. I mean, incredible, very kind, very generous of my parents. So the downside is it is back ordered. So I don't know when it's going to arrive, but it is ordered. And now I just have to wait, which I'm fine with. I can wait. But I am very excited to be able to cook dinner and lunch and just enjoy grilling again, especially now that we're getting in, still summer for another month, but the next 4 months, 5 months, the temperature it'll be nice to stand by the grill. You know what I mean? And not just sweat yourself out because it's, cooler outside. So.
And what's the product name for anybody that would want to look it up?
It is hold please. So the company is SNS Grills. Slow and Sear is what SNS stands for. And the grill is the Slow and Sear Deluxe Kettle Grill. Yeah, it's got a side table that can hold up to 20 pounds. It's got a cool thing that holds your lid so you don't have to set the lid on the ground. It's got a a grate that spins really easily so you can move your meat from searing to cooling, drip trays. It's pretty awesome. So I have my list of recipes that I'm going to try: sausage, ribs, burgers, another pork shoulder. Eventually, I'll get to a brisket. It's going to be great.
All right.
And I'm very excited about it.
I got it.
So, yes,
All right.
to all of the barbecue folks out there.
So that would make my best friend super happy that you're talking barbecue. I think he has 5 smokers last time I talked to him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went to their 25th wedding anniversary here a few weeks ago, and he made all the meat for the party, and so they're sitting and they're doing a newlywed game. They've got like a newlywed couple, they've got them, and then they've got an older couple that's been married longer than them, and they're doing this game to see who knows each other the best. The newlyweds won, by the way, which was hilarious. But but there was a question for the ladies: is just pick one thing that you would, if he said get rid of anything in the house that you wouldn't want in the house anymore, what's the one thing?
Oh gosh.
And his wife said, well, he's got like 5 or 6 smokers, so he could probably stand to lose one of those. she was like, I don't know. And what was hilarious is that he looked out at the crowd and he's like, is anybody complaining that I have 5 smokers at home? And everyone's like, we're good.
That's funny.
So it was pretty funny. Yeah. But yeah, that's just something that I probably could really get into, but it's not something that I've really taken the time to get into, because there's so many other things going on. So
well, yeah, and for me, it's like, so my parents have always been, before this was a term, foodies.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was in middle school and high school, my mom had, get this was late 90s, early 2000s, an online subscription service called Lunches by the Month, where she would provide really nice lunch recipes that were easy to make, but were better than PB&J or a turkey, and cheddar sandwich. Provide all the recipes, all the shopping lists, and schedule out your lunches by the month. And this was before online subscriptions were a thing. Like, she was so ahead of the times. Needless to say, it worked for a little bit until it didn't, because people just weren't ready to, do that sort of thing just yet. But like, we grew up cooking in the kitchen and learning, how to read recipes, and, yeah. So like, we learned very much to appreciate good home cooked food, and how to cook different styles and that sort of stuff. But like, we never grilled anything ever. It was always just done in the kitchen. And so it really wasn't until I moved to Kansas, where I got Kansas City barbecue, where I was like, oh, this is a whole, but like, it was such a foreign, they're on these giant, like 40-gallon smokers with like 30 racks. It was like, I can't do that. Like, I don't own a restaurant, and it wasn't until recently where, when I moved back to Illinois, and one of the guys at the church is like a Traeger evangelist, not professionally, just personally. Like, he just loves them. And, real, I shouldn't say real, like Texas style barbecue folks with like their offset smokers, they like, will refer to Traegers as easy bake ovens, because literally you plug it in, you set the temperature, and you walk away.
Yep.
But there's sometimes you live a busy life. Like, this dude is a full-time farmer. He can't sit by a grill for 16 hours to do a brisket. You know what I mean? So it's a lifestyle choice for him. But being able to use one of those and really start to experiment with, reverse searing a steak, or, doing the pork shoulder, or even like searing and smoking some ahi tuna on a grill to get some smoke. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a whole, like, I could do this. This is a fun way. Or even like, roasting the vegetables over the grill. I was like, man, it's an oven, but it's live fire. So it's just a different, and that you have to learn how to work with it. But that's when I was like, oh, you know what? Oh, this is fun. I can take what I know from the kitchen, learn a few things about the grill, and be outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just enjoy being outside and enjoying the weather, and not being stuck in the house, and, being outside and having smoke is not a bad thing. Smoke in the house, bad thing.
Yeah.
Right. So, anyways, it's been something that's really, I don't know, it's been exciting because I'm learning and I'm wanting to try new challenges and that sort of stuff. And the result is it's food.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can literally taste the fruits of your labor. So, anyways,
Yeah, I'd be the kind of guy to spend the money on a Traeger and just not have to learn anything or learn much.
And like I said,
Yeah.
there are benefits
Yeah.
to that for sure.
But I would need the money and be able to reconcile that with the wife. But it's not a priority of mine right now. I have a gas grill that I use that, when we do want to get, some brats on the grill or something like that, I'm more than capable of doing that with my grill that I have. So
there you go.
All right.
What's delighting you?
So I've had this item for a while, and as I was running around this last week, I thought, I haven't talked about this on the show yet, and I think I need to talk about this on the show. So what we have talked about on the show before is that I have a 2020 Jeep Renegade, and it has CarPlay. So I'm really happy with the fact that I can use CarPlay, and it was one of the check boxes I needed to check off when we bought our last car. And one thing that I didn't like is that I had to plug it in every time I got into the car. So I was able to find it's a CarLink kit that makes wired CarPlay wireless. And so I've been using this for a while. I kind of wanted to test it out to see if it actually worked, because there was definitely a part of me that was thinking, yes, this can't actually work. Spoiler, it actually works. But it is the CarLink. It looks like Carlin Kit 3.0 because they didn't bother to put the second K in there. So it's all one word, CarLink It. I guess is maybe how they want it read. 3.0 wireless CarPlay adapter USB for factory wired CarPlay cars, model year 2015 to 2023, dongle converted, wired to wireless CarPlay. So if you're looking for it on Amazon, that's the title of it.
You don't get to listen to that again. You got to type it as he says it.
Nope, type it as I say it. Hit the 15-second skip back, and there you go.
What a stupid title for a thing.
Yeah, well, it's a thing. But right now it's $97.75 on Amazon. But this is a device that is always got really good deals on it. If you go down just under the title, there is a coupon for $46 off.
There $51 then?
I'm not done yet. There is a coupon code for another 15% off. And I'm pretty sure they'll let you stack those. I had Amazon points to spend. Oh, so when I bought it, I think I bought it for like $23. So it was a pretty good deal.
Nice.
But it has worked really well for me, and I'm really happy with it. It does. There's a couple of caveats. Number one, when you get in the car, one of the nice things is you can just leave your phone in your pocket. You don't have to pull it out. You don't have to put it up on the dash. You don't have to do anything. You just get in the car, fire up the car, and go. And it takes, I haven't timed it, but I would say 10 to 20 seconds to fully connect and bring CarPlay up on the screen. So it's not an instant thing. But, to be honest, when I wired it before, it wasn't instant either. It might not take quite that long, but it took, sometimes almost 10 seconds to come up. And the other thing is there is lag when you do anything with it. So if you want to, on the screen, like if I switch to the map, it goes right to the map. If I switch to the music app or whatever, it goes right to the music app. But where the lag is when it's sending audio back and forth. If you're listening to a song and you go to pause that song, you're going to have about a second or two where it's going to play and then it'll stop.
Yeah, it's just that latency. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, wireless devices and, It's just, it is what it is. So there's a little bit of latency with it. But overall, it is so nice to just jump in the car and go and pull my map up. It's been 99% reliable. The only times that I've really run into an issue is every once in a while it'll lock up and I have to reach down and unplug it from the USB port, plug it back in, it reboots it, and then it works just fine after that. And I might have to do that every couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a huge deal. And with the amount of driving that I do, it's to have to do it every couple of weeks is not a lot. So
yeah.
But I can put a link in the show notes for that and for the girl that you talked about as well. So if anybody's looking for either of those items, I'll put a link in the show notes for you guys. All right. Well, that's what's delighting us today.
Indeed.
You want to talk about Ahsoka now?
Oh, sure.
All right. So first off, we'll do it as an after show. So this is where I tell you, you can check us out on innerdialogue.show if there's any information that you want about us. There is also a button right on the main page there if you want to send us any feedback, or if you have questions or comments, feel free to click that button. It will send off an email to me and we'll talk about it on the show. So feel free to do that. Also, if you want to check out Cam and all the things that he does, where can they find you, Cam?
CamBrennan.com.
All right. And if you're looking for me, check out mitchcraig.online. So, and I guess if I had a spoiler horn, I'd fire it off right here. But we are going to be talking about the first 2 episodes. What?
The air horn, Hurley's air horn.
Oh, right. So we're going to be talking about the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka that came out on Disney Plus this last Wednesday. All right. So just so I don't disappoint Cam, I will go ahead and do as he has requested. Here's your air horn. I thought. All right, there you go. I guess that's our spoiler horn now.
But I still think it should be the Imperial March. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah. I thought maybe some kind of alarm or something like that to catch attention, but we'll workshop that. So, all right. So Ahsoka came out this last Wednesday, the first 2 episodes, and you had some questions. I have some comments, and some of them will have to do with the book that I'm reading right now as well. So let's start with you, man. What comments or questions did you have?
So a couple. Like I know that I have missing information. I haven't finished Clone Wars, and I haven't watched Rebels. So a lot of the backstory, from what I've gathered and what you've told me as well, is that a lot of where this show stems from is those things, especially Rebels.
This is the most Filoni driven live action show so far. And what I mean by that is that he did Clone Wars, he did Rebels. So this is him. Like, this is the extension of those 2 universes. So
I knew Ahsoka from Clone Wars. Like I said, I haven't finished it, but I've watched most of it. But like, I still don't know why she left the Jedi. And you've told me that happens towards the end of Clone Wars. So I'll have to catch up on that. And I noticed in the first episode, when they're doing the big celebration day, there's that mural of the Rebel squad, as it were. And the big, what's his name again? Zeb?
Zeb, yep.
He shows up in the last season of The Mandalorian. I remember thinking, okay, that's supposed to be somebody. I don't know who it is. And you helped me explain. I looked it up on one of the fandom wiki or whatever it was. So like, I know that I'm working with partial information. And so one of the things I was curious, was there anything in the first 2 episodes that, like, Easter eggs or characters that like I should know about going? Like, obviously Thrawn showing up at some point, which has me thrilled because I finished the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy on audiobooks, and I'm in the
Hmm.
second book of the Thrawn trilogy, which you said that one came first, and then the
Right.
prequels were written. How very Star Wars to do the
Yep.
prequels later.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
but
what's even funnier is that the original Thrawn trilogy that's now on Legends comes way later. You know, it comes after Return of the Jedi, where the book that you're reading right
which is
now is kind of, want to say it's just before
just
New Hope.
before Battle of Yavin. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's like one and two BBY, right? And because this Ahsoka is set after Return of the Jedi, similar to the
Yes.
Mandalorian.
Hmm. I'm a
And
little unclear about the exact timeline of what's going on,
well, because
but
what's interesting is
that's about
in the
right.
first book of the Thrawn trilogy, the canon one,
Hmm.
where Tron joins the Imperial Navy.
Hmm.
There's a character named Arinda Price who's from Lothal, and the governor Azadi here is the governor of Lothal in that book before Arinda cons her way essentially and blackmails her way into the governorship of Lothal. But like what Lothal looked like on this show versus what I was picturing it as hearing that book seemed far more developed in this show than what the books made it sound like. They kept calling
Hmm.
it like an outer rim backwater mining, but like that capital city was pretty dope.
Yeah.
Uh and
This
so
is where watching Rebels would help, because a
okay.
lot of Rebels takes place on Lothal.
Really? Okay.
Hmm.
So again, but like I recognized the name of the planet and the governor's Zadi. I'm like, ooh, so I wonder what happens to Rinda, like, because she's a terrible person in the book, just god awful.
Watch Rebels.
Oh, she's in Rebels.
Hmm. Yep.
Okay, all right. So, anyways, like I have enough of this tangential information about some of the characters and some of the but like I know I'm missing boatloads. So that's where I'm at with it. I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. Again, new Star Wars. I'm here for it, but I'm curious what your takeaways were because you have all of this background information.
So for me, first thing I want to know is how many episodes they were going to do, and it looks like 8.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be kind of short. Where are we going was my second question, and it looks like what we're probably going to see, which is a disappointment to me. We're probably going to see the story arc taking us to Ezra Bridger and Grand Admiral Thrawn's ship, and that will be probably the last episode of the season. Where I
Yeah.
was really hoping that the first two episodes were going to get us to Thrawn, and then we were able to spend some time with Thrawn in the season.
It feels like they're going to dangle that carrot, and that's
yeah,
going to be the
hmm
payoff. Is well, now we have to wait for the Thrawn season 1, or
yeah.
so whatever it is, right? And so, so you think that the Ahsoka series is just going to be a bridge to
I
a
don't
Thrawn series,
I don't
or
know. I don't know
like
if
is it
they
going to
would
be a
do that.
one-off like we think Kenobi is, or
We'll see. I'm not really
yeah,
sure what they're going to do with this or where they're going to go with this. The story of Ahsoka from the end of the Clone Wars to where we are today, with the live action show, and there's one book that falls kind of in the middle of all that. That's called Ahsoka. That she goes to, I think it's Ryloth, and saves a bunch of people from Imperial control, because they're all being enslaved by the Empire.
uh-huh.
And the story basically introduces you to the idea that that's what she's doing now, is she's going wherever the Force is taking her to save people and to help people. And so, have you happened upon the Night Sisters yet in Clone Wars at all?
Remind me who they are.
They're the witches.
Yeah.
So
What's her name?
I'm her name is
Asajj
slipping my.
Ventress.
Yeah, Asajj Ventress was
Yeah.
a Night Sister.
Yeah, I think I'm on season 4, like the back
Okay.
end of season 4. So like I don't have a ton left, but like I just haven't, and I need to.
Yeah. So the woman that is in, I'm going to look it up here real quick so I get the names right. But the woman that's in Ahsoka is a Night Sister, and they referred to her. Now I don't know, because at one point, the Night Sisters are all taken out. No, sorry, that's a little bit of a spoiler, but don't get too attached to any of them.
Well, no, they creep me out. So
Asajj Ventress is the one that we know originally that from the cartoons that makes it through, but that's because she's not there when things happen. Never mind, I'm not going to say that. Let me see. I got to find an app real quick here. Hold on. I have to use the before mentioned app Call Sheet to look up some names here. So, and of course, I mentioned before the show I broke my glasses, and they were the only pair of glasses that I had that had progressive lenses on them. So if I pull my glasses up and I'm staring at my iPad, I apologize, but that's the only way I can see these. Yeah. Okay, it's that Morgan Elsbeth.
Yeah,
she's a Night Sister, and she was in the Mandalorian too. That we were introduced to her late in the Mandalorian run when Ahsoka first showed up. Remember, she came in and she fought this lady that had the Beskar spear.
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't
her.
Remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, because where Ahsoka finds that little, Star Wars Rubik's Cube map thing is on the planet where the Night Sisters used to be. Correct?
I wasn't really clear about that, to be honest with you. They didn't really say it. I'd have to read and see if that's actually been revealed where they were, because that should be Dathomir. If that's
if that's the case, it looked very different in Clone Wars than it did on the show. But she meant like when Morgan Elsbeth is there with what's his name, Balin, Skull, and Shin Hati. I don't know how to say her name, but like I think the two baddies. Hati. Yeah, the two baddies with the red lightsabers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when she reveals that this is a planet where the Night Sisters were, and the apprentice go, "You're a witch," like, oh, crap, like who are we dealing with here? Sort of a deal. So I don't know if they said it by name or if it was a place they lived before Dathomir or whatever, but it's definitely related to that whole crew.
Yeah. But yeah, she is a Night Sister. So, Sabine Wren and Hera Syndulla. So Sabine is the rebellious kind of pouty teenager character on the show. I don't know if she's actually a teenager, but that's kind of how they play her. She is from Rebels. Hera Syndulla, the Twi'lek, she is from Rebels. And actually, to be honest with you, I liked her character a little bit more than I thought I was going to. Her character in Rebels, you kind of get this mother hen kind of feeling about her. She's kind of the elder statesman of the group, or the matriarch of the group, sort of. And when I saw who they casted, and I'm not that familiar with this lady, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I'm not really that super familiar with her, but when I saw her all done up, I thought, man, she looks really young. I picture Hera here looking older, but I'm not super disappointed. It was exciting for me to see my favorite droid in all of Star Wars done in live action, and he didn't get out and get around, but Chopper, the astromech. Yeah. I love that character. He is so funny. He's the grumpiest little astromech. They took R2D2's character and like ramped it up another notch. So it's good stuff. But
well, I will say this Mary Elizabeth Winstead, she's married to Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Is she?
Very good. They got married last year.
Oh, that's cool.
Which it's both their second marriages, which is sad because it looks like Ewan McGregor was married for 25 years to his first wife.
Yeah.
That hurts, man. Yeah. That hurts.
Look at some of the cast here. Hu Yang, the the droid that flies with, is he with Hera? I'm
No, Hu
trying to
Yang's
remember.
with Ahsoka.
So with Soka. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Hu Yang, there's a huge history with him. He
Mhm.
is in the Jedi temple. He was the robot that would take the younglings out and find their kyber crystals and teach them to build their lightsabers. So when he talks about lightsabers in these first two episodes, like he is very aware of what a light about the construction of lightsabers. Like he's been doing it for all of the prequels. Um,
And that's how they identify Balin Skull as a former Jedi youngling. He's
mhm,
looking at the two lightsabers from, and he I don't know this one, but this one I've only ever seen one like this, and it
yeah,
belonged to this guy.
yeah,
That they're like, oh, turns out he's alive. He didn't
hmm
die in Order 66, right?
yeah. So he
A
is
nice database to have.
he's got a lot of history
Mm-hmm.
in the Star Wars universe. So it's a really cool character to see them bring in to. And the do you know who David Tennant is?
Yep.
Yep,
Doctor Who
he
for
does the
one
voice
of the
of
Doctor Who's. Yeah.
he does the voice for Hu Yang.
Well, and it says
So
here that he also did it for Clone Wars. I like
yeah.
that, not in every regard, but
Hmm.
in certain instances, the people that were on Clone Wars or Rebels are also doing it here. So, like the guy that's playing Thrawn live action was the voice of Thrawn on the
Really?
TV show, right? Yeah, David. Yeah, Lars Mikkelsen.
Lars Mikkelsen? Okay.
Yeah, so he's playing live action Thrawn, but he was also the voice of Thrawn. Same with David
He's
Tennant.
got the face for Thrawn
He
too.
does. Like
I'm
the first picture I saw of him, he had a beard on, and then I saw him
hmm
clean shaven, and I was like, "Oh nope, that'll work."
yep. No, I'm looking
Paint
forward to
that
seeing
blue.
him. And he's got the
Yeah.
voice too, which by the way, I think the voice in the characters is the voice that you didn't like in Thrawn Ascendancy in the
Well,
audiobooks.
because I remember I texted you because at this point I didn't know what order the books were written in. I just
Hmm.
started from the beginning because
Yeah.
that's just how my brain works. Start at the beginning and learn as you go. But now that I'm in the second book of the original trilogy, I'm like, oh, look at all of these. Like Admiral Aralani shows up at the end of the first. I'm like, oh, I know who she is, right? But
Yeah.
like, anyways, I thought the voice that what's his name, Mark Thompson,
Yeah. Hmm.
does for Thrawn in the original trilogy is better than the voice he did in the prequels. But the prequels came after, so I was like, wow, I don't get the shift.
I
It
feel
doesn't
like
make
he
sense to
might have
me.
been trying to match the Rebels version of Thrawn because Thrawn shows up in Rebels. So I think he might have been trying to match that performance, the Lars
Mhm.
Mikkelsen performance.
Yeah, well,
But
I like the Thrawn voice from the original
yeah,
audiobooks
it's the
trilogy.
same voice that he uses in the original Legends trilogy, which by the way I feel like is the best of the three trilogies, the best of the three
It's
Thrawn trilogies. But you're
like I
you're
got
staying in
used to it.
canon for now, so
I got used to it,
mhm.
but at first I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a long deal because it's just so over the top." And I'm just like, "Oh man, I don't know if I can." But then like you hear some of the other characters, like some of like the people that he goes up against in the prequel trilogy. I'm forgetting their names. The ones that were all about enlightenment.
I'm so far
I
removed from it right now.
was just like awful. And I
Uh-huh.
was like, oh, this character needs to die on the next page. He cannot be. And I'm like,
There's a few of those characters
oh my
that are pretty
gosh, yeah,
grating.
yeah. But anyways,
So speaking of those, probably the worst one, but also maybe one of my favorite characters that I'd like to see brought onto live action because he's just hilarious and funny in the Aftermath trilogy, which takes place just after the just after Return of the Jedi. In that book, there is a restored battle droid. Do you know who Snap Wexley is from the sequel trilogy? It's Greg Grunberg played him.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's Snap Wexley. He shows up in the Aftermath trilogy. He's a major character in that as a kid. And I can't, his name is escaping me, but I think it starts with a T. That they don't use the name Snap until at the very end of the trilogy. But he basically takes an old B1 battle droid from the prequels, the annoying Roger robots. He takes one of those and he reprograms it to fight alongside him. And he's got like bones hanging from him, and he's painted red, and and he's called Bones. That's the name that they use. The voice that Mark Thompson does for him in this in that trilogy is like, oh my gosh, you want to turn it down every time because it is so harsh. But that the character is hilarious, but his voice gets a little harsh. So,
well,
anyway.
here I was hoping that Jar Jar Binks was making a return.
No, please no. But overall, when we're looking at, I'm trying to think of some of the stuff to bring up about the show, because it really, when it comes down to it, let me see if I can bring up the trivia page on IMDb, if there is anything. Apparently there's not. But no, I'm not going to be able to. But yeah, my impression walking away from it is like, yeah, it's going to be a few more episodes before we're going to see Thrawn, And my original thought that this was not going to be Thrawn, but rather a clone of Thrawn. I don't know if you remember me talking about this. But
vaguely.
Yeah. But in the Legends books, there's the original Thrawn trilogy, and then there's a duology called The Hand of Thrawn. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the original trilogy, I apologize to spoil this, but Thrawn.
The end of what?
At the original Legends trilogy. So it's not the trilogy you're reading; it's the other one. Thrawn doesn't make it. I don't know if he's really dies, but there's a little bit of mystery behind this. And so this happens right around the time that the Ahsoka trilogy is taking place, or the Ahsoka show is taking place. So my thought was, Thrawn's already off the scene if they're going to like kind of try to stick to Legends a little bit. But then the Hand of Thrawn comes in after that, where they're trying to replace Thrawn to get the Empire, or the remnants of the Empire, reinvigorated to take the galaxy back over. So they basically either cloned Thrawn, or they've got actors playing Thrawn. I forget exactly what it is, but they try to bring Thrawn back and be like, oh, hey guys, he really didn't die, And they had studied all of Thrawn's tactics and all this kind of stuff, and taught this guy everything he needed to know about being Thrawn, and then put him into that role in those books. And he eventually they reveal this in the book. I don't know how much of it gets revealed, but needless to say, the Empire doesn't really make it in the books. But that's kind of where I thought they might be going with this, is that this wasn't actually Thrawn. They were just trying to bring him back to rally the troops to be able to defeat the New Republic. But it doesn't look to me like that's what they're doing here. It looks like they're actually trying, because
Legends isn't canon, right? So
right.
who makes
so
they
don't have to stick to that, and that's part of the point. But the trouble is that at the end of Rebels, and this is what you're missing, because what they're dealing with in the first 2 episodes of Ahsoka is really the aftermath of the last season of Rebels. Is that Ezra Bridger, who's the Jedi who is training under Kanan Jarrus during Rebels, he sacrifices himself to take Thrawn out at the end of the Rebels series. And so they like go into hyperspace and they disappear and nobody knows what happened to them and they're gone. So now what's happening is that they're at this beginning of the Ahsoka show here. Now they're saying, okay, we've got a clue. We've got a clue as to what happened to them. So the Empire wants to find Thrawn to bring him back to rally the Empire and overtake the New Republic. They want to get Ezra Bridger back because it's their friends, they want them back. Sabine had kind of not like a romantic relationship with Ezra, but it was kind of like a brother-sister relationship. So she's, that's part of what you're seeing at the beginning of Ahsoka here, is that she's, missing him and wanting him back. Ahsoka wants to bring back another Jedi. I don't remember Sabine. I know she had the Darksaber for a while and trained a little bit with Ahsoka to use the Darksaber. But I don't remember her training to be a Jedi. It might just be a lapse of memory for me. But
she was training under Ahsoka, wasn't she?
Well, that's what they're showing in Ahsoka. I don't remember that from Rebels, but that just might just be my a lapse of memory for me. But unless it was maybe right at the end, they were like, there was an agreement that they were going to go do this, and it's just time missing now. So, but whatever. But we haven't seen Zeb in this show yet, which I'm kind of curious to see if we'll see Zeb come back too. But we also haven't seen the Ghost, the ship that they flew in Rebels. The little shuttle that they used in the first couple episodes, that's called the Phantom 2 because the first Phantom blew up. So that's part of it. Actually docks with the Ghost. But yeah, I was waiting for them to reveal that in the second episode, and they didn't. So, which by the way, the Lego model is coming out this next month for the Ghost and the Phantom 2. $159, and I'm very much considering making it my birthday build this year. So, because the last 2 years I've done a Lego model for my birthday. So,
all right, very good.
But does that answer all your questions? I know that I kind of I feel like I might have gone
good.
off on a tangent, but
no, it's nice to have some of the context filled in and all that stuff. So I'm still going to watch it.
The real trouble is it's so hard not to spoil everything else in the process to try and explain what's going on here. So still encourage you to watch the other stuff so that you can you get the whole story. But yeah.
Cool.
Indeed. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for us.
Indeed.
Man, I wish I could talk better.
I do English good.
I do English real well. Anyway. All right. Well, we already tagged the show out, so all I've got to say is have a great day, sir.
Farewell.
Trying to use the wrong trackpad to stop the